Today, I'm joined by Sophia. Sophia runs investments for a single family office in High Wycombe, and the route he took to get there is very unusual. He spent years in telecoms, working his way through IBM, EDS, cable and wireless, and then Sybase, which SAP bought in 2010. For the last stretch of his career, he's been operating inside a world most people never knew or never see. Property across UK, Europe, Southeast Asia, luxury hospitality in places like Montenegro, and then a network of high net worth individuals, hoteliers, and financiers who sit all around that. I wanted Safir on today because he moves inside a world which is worth hearing about. Safir, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Aaron. Good to be in touch with you.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, so we spoke about it previously, but the format of the podcast, short, concise, impactful. I've got a list of questions which are just essentially designed to get as much useful insight from you in the short window we have. So if you don't mind, I'll just rattle on and start with the first question.
Go ahead.
You went from being a water boy in your village in Kashmir to running investments for a family office in the UK. How does someone get into a role like that? Because it's obviously not one that you can just apply for on LinkedIn.
Well, you don't. Well, look, the most important thing for me, Aaron, was the education. Growing up in Kashmir, seeing things which perhaps were incredibly difficult for me. For example, spending a lot of time around water where, not having enough water always made me feel I couldn't have enough time for education or playing any sports I was looking to do, or having just meet up with my friends. And more importantly, I realized if I was in that situation, I had friends who were perhaps less off than me, or didn't have the same kind of the frequencies of the things I had. And at that moment, I realized, look, if I can bring education to my life, and I can make my own pen, my own piece of wood, my own ink, and I become the writer, the reader, and I by default I will have the knowledge which will allow me to cure a problem for my friends. Essentially, that was it. I wanted them to have a house or houses and have water. And then my mother and father gave me the opportunity to travel to UK to do education. So I guess I fell in the place.
When you're investing on behalf of a family rather than yourself, what sort of people or factors influence your decisions?
Well, look, for me, the main point of my life is that when I look at my own life, what really helped me was my parents. How my mother and father became, I guess, inspiration to my life, and also helping to make my decisions because they were in my presence at the time to do education. But more importantly, when I grew to a level where I could make decisions for other people, I always felt those people who I'm working with today, they had huge regards for their parents, their mother, their father, and the vision they have. And for me, that is the most important thing, because we as humans, when we have the vision, we can cure any problem. And I actually look at the world in kind of upside down. How could I be the engineer, or reverse the engineering, and be the solution, not just for the people who are investing, but perhaps those people who are struggling in the world. And that's the life I kind of lived perhaps when I was born, and I happened to take that challenge on, and giving perhaps my friends water, or some of the things I've given to them in Kashmir. I guess that it still remains my benchmark or my framework.
You operate in a very secretive world. What is something that people don't talk about, but because of your access, you see on a daily basis?
Well, people actually, what they don't talk about is, look, one of the things I've really noticed working in the high pitch or high level, or people who have perhaps billions and millions, is the comfort or the issues they are having to face. especially around the parents. And the parents issue, Aaron, is huge. We are actually blocking the lineage when we are neglecting our parents, our mothers and fathers, and not having to thrive on some of the lineage we have. So in a lot of the families I've noticed, traveling from here to rest of the world, that blockage and that ego, it seems to just to say, hey, I don't want to talk about my mother and father because I have millions or I have billions. I have everything today. I don't need them anymore. So I guess in for me, who is coming from a very spiritual life, who's seen business and the spiritual being of perhaps my parents who had the vision to make a better life for themselves and for my family and for those who were around me, in such a way that perhaps today I'm carrying on with my message. And I feel if those people were to kind of drop down their kind of ego and learn from other people and reading books, Aaron. A lot of these people sadly are men, and these men, they just don't read books, man.
When there is a new opportunity, or more importantly, if a new person enters the family's orbit, what is the process for letting someone inside your inner circle?
Again, what's important is you gotta, if you're dealing with somebody young, you gotta teach them the value of vision and the value of the parents. And when you can have conversation with somebody who's around you who's young, and you can, I guess, polish them, and that for me has worked in so many cases where I've grown some of the entrepreneurs around me, or I'm still kind of working with them. And it's basically giving them that presence, the 2 minutes or the 5 minutes that really kind of brushes what they're doing in their own life, and being positive around them is very, very important. And I feel positivity plays a huge role. And when you obviously get to a level of knowledge and intellect and intelligence, kindness becomes very, very difficult. When you bring the kindness to the kids or the future generation, Aaron, we literally can make this world a better place, whatever the issues are. So I feel those kind of things are very important, to be kind to our young kids, and to be positive about the change we can bring. And then the change is sometimes we got to feel we can blend, because with the knowledge, with the experience, and with the perhaps the vision those kids will have. Because ultimately, when you go to life where I am, for me, it's important I share as much as I can. And one of the most successful kind of scholar in the world said, sharing even knowledge becomes kindness. So I guess kindness plays a huge role in our life.
What is something you are actively looking to build or to get into over the next 12 months that you weren't looking at 12 months ago?
Oh, amazing question. Aaron, I was born in Kashmir, raised in UK. Now I travel the world. And one of the most amazing things happened to me was obviously being in UK and learning and having the education. And one of the quotes I read recently was, the highest pleasure we humans can have is education. There is nothing better than education. So I guess, the most amazing pleasure I've had in my own life is being education in UK. And how do I bring education into UK to set up the framework which will, of course, go after the problems we have in our country, which I guess, looking at the angle of homeless people, poverty. And when I come to this country, those things, but you would never associate, poverty, homeless people, or even health. And some of the things I'm working on, a project which is backed by a real estate fund, which ultimately what it does, from the word go, you put 10% into the problem you have, for example, homeless people, and 90% goes into the property, whatever that fund will look like. I don't know, but typically you will make 20%, 40% return. But what we're saying to the people in UK, that the investment has to be about putting money where you make your decision on the right hand side to make money, and the left to give money. Until we don't do that, I feel we will be going down, I guess, the rabbit hole, which I guess in last 30 years, if you look at people from, I guess, Middle East, they've put a lot of money into London, but we still have homeless people sitting in streets of London. We still have homeless people sitting in Manchester, Liverpool. So if we make our core value, which is basically X percentage will go to a project called Sadaka, which I'm working on currently, I feel it will be my duty to give back to this country to empower, I guess, those who are struggling, whether it be a poverty or homeless or education or health in itself. So that is my role in next 12 months, to educate people that if we are putting 100 million into a property fund, let's put 10 million to a side where we are growing those who are struggling continuously, as well as making perhaps 90 million become 130 million across 3 years, 4 years. And I feel that could be the game changer, not just in the UK, but globally, because sadly, our world is suffering from different levels, whether you look at it from negativity or control or killing. We have to, as human race, come together to kind of feel that we can find that message or the point or that behavior within us to make this world a better place. So that is my role for next, I guess, my near life. I'm not even putting 12 months out in, because that's the life I want to live, and that's the life I've chosen to live.
And then it brings us on to the final question quite well, which is we previously spoke on the phone, and you spoke quite passionately about the campaign for water worldwide that you want to do. So just wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about your mission, and then if there's an opportunity for people to help, then just mentioning that.
Yeah, I mean, look, water is a great journey in my own life, because I used to find water some of it just became a passion in my life as a child. And I wanted to understand how the water comes into a well. And I used to feel somebody puts it there, and when I arrive, it's there, and I collect it, I bring it back home. But fast forward, where I am today, look, if we humans can continuously find and speak to water or bring water in our presence and be thankful and grateful through our businesses, we can have the level of protection or level of kindness in every step that we take in this world. And what does that mean? It means that, look, there are people still in the world today do not have clean water. And if you study through the scientific way of life, we are 90% water, right? So the more you look into water, we are the language of water as humans. And the more we kind of become close to it, the more we learn about water, the more we give water to those who are struggling in the world. The more we will become the ultra kind of creation to serve I guess, to serve the world. And I feel to create an ecosystem, we have to go back to water. And if you look at the life of olive tree, it's all water. And the olive tree can live up to 2,000 to 10,000 years. But if we don't water that olive tree for 20 years or 30 years, we're not going to have an ecosystem. And the ecosystem olive tree has, actually, it produces the fruit or the veg, produces the oil, which, believe it or not, back in the history, it suggests from Torah, Bible, and the Quran, it eradicates orphans, widows, poverty, water, and the needy. So imagine if we can grow millions and billions of olive tree, and by default, we will fix this world. And I feel once we have this understanding the water that we can provide through our businesses, through our, I guess, being entrepreneur, as a leader, as a business person, if we can have these values in our core day-to-day running of our life, we can achieve anything. So I feel very lucky. Also, we live on an island which is surrounded by water, but what do we do as a country? How do we become the message to rest of the world that we are here to continuously to improve and planting, I guess, and growing those plants or the communities around the world? And I feel it's a huge gap in the world today, and that is for me my focus until the last breath in my body.
Sophia, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's all the questions that have gone over. Yeah, I think you're a cool guy because you're obviously a very high performer, but everything is sort of rooted in your spirituality and your good values. So I think I can see why you've done well and successful, and why you're having such more of a positive impact through like the philanthropy and your campaign. So I thank you very much for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. I really appreciate your time.
No problem, Aaron. It's been absolute pleasure. And once again, I'm also thankful and grateful for your being. And I am here to see you grow at the same time. And I feel people like you, when you take this message to different communities, it only takes one person to believe in what they want to achieve. And when you achieve something, it's not for yourself. You achieve things for others. And when you do it for others, the world will bring you whatever's in due in your life. So, and I feel you have the great platform, and I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.